Time for Hawk Fanatic, brought to you by Geary Brothers Ford, Hawkeye Title and Settlements, Mike Ekeys for Cars, Supple's Building and Remodeling, 1-800-800-ROSE, and Hawkeye Courier, Midtown Family Restaurants, Harty and Stocker Jewelers, Diamond Dream Sports Academy, Senior Benefits, Premier Automotive, the Oxyoke Inn in the Amanas, Street Maintenance, Dr. Lance Forbes and Diamond Dental in Cedar Rapids, and Big Dog Tech Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Suter.
This is not Hawk Fanatic, Mr. Hunter.
Did I say Hawk Fanatic?
Yes, you did.
The Suterman Show.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
I don't care. And I don't care. If only there was something happening in Hawkeye land that we could talk about today.
You know, these Saturday shows, I don't know. You just never can tell what is going to be the topic of discussion.
Yeah, it was... fur was flying yesterday.
I would say that that's an understatement.
Mm-hmm. And the fur continues to fly as Owen Freeman is the first Hawkeye to enter the portal.
Oh, he's already
in, and he will be the first of many.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So
it doesn't mean they'll all stay there, but...
Right. But what does that mean for postseason? Is this it then?
Oh, I wouldn't think there will be any postseason. We don't have a coach, and we're not going to have, probably not going to have 7 scholarship players.
Yeah, somebody had the ridiculous notion that Fran should stick around and coach like the Crown tournament before he's done.
Well,
I don't believe that would be a good.
I don't believe that would be a good idea. Good morning, Mr. Harty.
Good morning.
As I was telling Jim, too bad there's not anything happening in the Hawkeye basketball land, huh?
Yeah. The Freeman one was, like you said, it's going to be the first of many, and he's got a no contact. He knows where he's going.
Yeah.
And I've been told that it's probably over $1 million. So good for him.
Yeah, hey, that's our world now.
He came here to play for Fran.
Yeah. Yep.
He didn't come here. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't. He grew up in Illinois, and he liked Fran. And
well, fair enough.
I mean, there was a risk, even if Fran had stayed, that Freeman might leave because Iowa just can't compete right now with NIL.
No. And if I'm a 19, 20-year-old kid, if someone offers me $1 million to play basketball, if I come to their school, you have to think about it.
Oh, without question.
I mean, and many kids would say, I'm sorry, I love it at Iowa, I'm leaving. I got to go. Because that's $1 million is still a whole lot of money.
Well, and some of these guys, too, might want to come back and ultimately could if they don't see what they get in the portal, but
Sure.
The new coach may not want them.
No, that's right.
There's just so many things that are out there kind of hanging in the balance, and you just got to kind of let it play out.
And that's exactly right. And people are going to have to be patient and don't rip these players for going in the portal. That's the world we're in today.
Exactly. Hello.
Hello. How fast do you think it'll be before they get a new coach? And will he retain any of the coaches that are already on the team?
Who knows? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Who knows? I mean, most likely any coach that we're going to be interested in is still coaching.
Yeah, and some have written or have acted like it's DeVries.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we don't. I
think the Register had a big thing. This is, I didn't read it because I don't have a subscription, but it basically made it sound like this is the guy you're going to get him, and if that turns out to be the case, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but that's the name. And Ben McCollum seems to be trending more towards Indiana.
Yes, he does.
And Niko Medved is at Minnesota.
Which I think is just the oddest little fun fact in
Drake
history.
Coach. Yeah. Drake coaches, yeah. It is
well,
interesting.
didn't they say that West Virginia offered Dries more, and he wanted to wait on this?
I was not. I'm not aware of that. I haven't seen that, but I haven't starting to study up DeVries yet. No. He's got a 5-year contract, $3 million a year. Buyouts around 4.5, 5 right now. At least the last I checked.
Do you think they should have waited until they found out if he was going to play in the Crown?
No. You mean Fran?
If who was going to play in the Crown?
No. The Crown.
No, the Crown's not for another almost 3 weeks, Karn.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It starts on March 31st. No, the crown is enough with the crown.
Yeah.
Are you and Ann still going though? Even if I was not there.
Yeah, we're gonna pull for Indiana State.
There you go.
And
all right. Are they in it? Will they be in it?
We'll pull for Minnesota. Oh wait, they don't have a coach. We're gonna pull for Indiana. Oh wait, they don't have a coach.
Well, the baseball got their doubleheader in yesterday.
Yes, they did.
And then today it's windy, and they're going to play another one today starting at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's going to be a little chilly.
It's going to be chilly.
It'll be a little chilly.
They're going to need to have some.
Yesterday was fairly warm. It wasn't bad.
Going to need to have their long johns on today, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be hard to play baseball in this stuff. I mean, it's.
Well, yesterday they had bunch of home runs, and it was the wind that took the ball over.
Like 10 over the 2 games. So.
Yeah, I saw that.
And every once in a while, the ball would blow, and the guy would get under it, and the ball would go elsewhere.
So what's the weather like tomorrow?
Sunny and 47.
I wonder why they don't play tomorrow.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
I don't know, but
keep an eye out and see if they make a change.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
because they usually play one game each. They usually play on Sunday.
They do.
But it's not supposed to warm up until in the afternoon because it's going to get down to about 27 tonight.
Well, yeah, you play at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon like they normally do.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't get why they would not. If it's supposed to be sunny in the 50s tomorrow, like you guys said, why not just play tomorrow? But what do I know?
Well, any of us know.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, well, I'll go over there today. Maybe take my sleeping bag.
Yeah, and you're going to have to be patient as far as the basketball thing goes because it's going to take a little time.
Yeah, well, we've done that before.
We have.
Yeah, they just posted 12 minutes ago. They're playing today at 1, so.
There you go.
All right, well, good
Thanks,
luck,
Karen.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to need that sleeping bag today.
Yeah, and I just got the confirmation. There is no postseason for Iowa. I mean, they're not going to. They're not going to go play in the Crown. They're not going to get invited to the NA. They're in the process of hiring a new head coach, and I think just because team might be in the tournament, I don't know if I'm looking at this as anything can happen. Nothing would surprise me with the way things are now.
The only thing that would surprise me is Beth changing her mind and keeping Fran.
Well, that
would surprise me.
That's not happening. That isn't happening, obviously. But as far as if it is DeVries, when it happens, how it happens, nothing would surprise me. I mean, hell, it wouldn't surprise me if it's announced on the. Well, I'm on. It seems like everything seems to get announced when I'm on, either heading to this station or on the air at this station. So much breaking news happens. I mean, the Freeman thing. I had just gotten in the car when it announced. He must have hit the portal this morning.
He did.
Because the moment those guys hit it, there's like 3 or 4 national entities. On3 has one. They all have these tracking devices.
Yeah.
So and then they all tweet it, and then boom, it's everywhere. But I had just I'm like, God, here we go. Luckily, Dallas is available. He's putting something up. But no, this is hardly earth-shattering news. I mean,
no.
I mean, Josh Dix, to me, I'm certainly not telling him what to do, but if you're Josh Dix with Creighton's NIL, wouldn't you have to seriously if Creighton wants you? And Creighton would love anybody.
Well, him last year.
Anybody in the country would love Josh Dix.
Yes.
He could play for anybody.
Yeah.
You imagine him playing for Duke? He could play for Duke.
Sure, he could.
He could easily play for Duke. So, it's going to be. I mean, let's make portal predictions. What is it? Freeman? The school I keep Arkansas, and what's the other one?
Kansas.
In Kansas, yeah, Arkansas. I was told Arkansas had offered him $1.2 million. I'm sure you're seeing stuff like that on the message board, too.
Sure.
That's perfect message board fodder.
Yeah.
And I had heard Kansas is in that neighborhood. Kansas would make more sense, I would think. He's from the Midwest. And, I mean, Calipari, I know he's in his first year there. No, it'll be interesting. But the fact that he could go to either one, it sounds like. And then, Dix was linked with Creighton last year. I remember asking him at Media Day, and he denied it. But, what does that mean? What does that mean? I mean, if he didn't want to acknowledge it publicly, that is certainly his prerogative. And I didn't certainly press him on the issue. But to me, if he is leaving Josh Dix to Creighton, I mean, they're good. Every year they're good.
They are.
Every year they're good.
They are.
And I look at their players, and a lot of them, they look like guys that are not as athletic as even Iowa players sometimes. And yet
they're good basketball players.
They're in the Big East now, and it's not the same. I get all that, but I look early this year they were struggling. I'm like, wow, maybe McDermott's hit a wall. Then about a month later, I look and they're like 12-3 in the conference.
Yeah.
So but no, this portal thing. I just texted Dallas. This is going to be a crazy few days here.
It is, and
I mean, if you live and breathe by athletes entering the portal, now for me, it's like okay, some of these people, Tom, it's just anytime oh my God, look at this, and it's just
what I get
overwhelming.
What I'm already tired of is people ripping the kids that go into the portal, and the thing, Owen Freeman's in the portal, okay, can't blame him. His coach just got fired. He is probably being offered $1 million and change to go somewhere else, and he's going to go.
Yeah, if Josh Dix goes to Creighton or Drake or anyone, I can't criticize him.
Absolutely not.
Because look at it this way. Let's say this new coach comes in, and he doesn't. I know I'm not saying Dix or Freeman, but this works both ways. There could be some Iowa guys that want to stay here, and the new coach may not want them.
That's true.
It works both ways.
And if it's DeVries and he brings his kid with him, suddenly Iowa fans are going to be all open arms about him, but he's doing the same thing.
Exact same thing. It's hypocritical, but in fairness to Iowa fans, they're no different than any other fans.
No, they're not.
We're just exposed to them more because that's where we live and work. And, I mean, there is a benefit from getting Darian DeVries and you get Tucker DeVries, that's his name, right, Tucker? Yeah. With Price Sanford. They played together in high school 2 years apart, of course. That's a nice little wing combination you'd have next year. And I'm assuming that if it is Darian, Price stays. I
would think so.
I would assume. Now there may, who knows? Let's say Kansas offers him $500,000. I mean, I don't know.
They might.
But I can see a scenario in which Price stays here. I mean, he would be reunited with somebody he grew up with. They play similar positions, but in Iowa's offense, you can play them both at the same time. One could be a shooting guard, the other a small forward. They're kind of interchangeable. Well, when I say Iowa's offense, I'm thinking of Fran.
Uh-huh.
I haven't really paid much attention to. I used to watch Drake when DeVries was coaching, but I didn't watch them necessarily thinking, okay, he's going to be the Iowa coach in a year or two.
No.
So I didn't really study his offense. I mean, they won. Obviously he did a great job there, and so has Ben McCollum.
But they always looked like they were a good team, though.
Yeah, they did. They always looked well coached. They always played hard. And, it's not like he had his kid for the entire time. He was good before his kid joined the roster, too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if people ask me, the Darian DeVries thing seems so obvious. Sometimes something can be too obvious and it doesn't happen. But that would be my guess right now, and it's hardly going out on a limb. But am I going to write something saying he's the best? We
don't know.
I have no idea who's the best fit. Just because you grew up in Iowa and your brother played defensive tackler, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great fit. There's got to be other things that happen to make you a great fit. And so we'll see. But as far as Fran, I mean, it's Beth acted quickly, decisively, as she should have if this is the direction she wanted to go. I mean, I've told you how I feel. I felt he deserved one more year, but I acknowledge the fan disconnect. It's too.
You can't ignore that.
You can't ignore that, and obviously they didn't. And now I'm assuming he'll get his $4.1 million buyout. More power to him. And if he wants to coach again, somebody would hire him. But again, I think he'd be great in the studio. I think he'd be a great studio analyst. And he may not want to do anything. He may want to just go watch his kid play at Butler and hang out in Indy with Caitlin and Connor and the family. And
I saw where Penn has an opening. I think he might want to go back to Philly.
The head coaching opening?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for me to say that he might, but, I mean, he's familiar with the territory. He'd be a considerable distance away from the activity in Indianapolis.
That is true.
See, I think now with him not employed at the present time, you got to think that Indianapolis situation is sort of a magnet, don't you?
Well, and it's felt like it has been for a year, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I can't see Fran joining somebody's staff as an assistant at this stage. He's going to be 66 in May. He doesn't need that. He has nothing left to prove. I don't think. I mean, I wrote yesterday that most of my interactions with Fran were positive. And they were. I know some people in the media don't like him, and he didn't have a great relationship. But I never really had any issues with Fran, even though I pissed him off one time. And that's what I wrote about. I pissed him off early in his run. Explained why I did it. He gave me his side of it. We moved on. He never held a grudge. It was business as usual. That's Fran.
I mean, he doesn't. We wouldn't hold a grudge.
No, but I've never expected the Iowa coach to be like my buddy. But Fran, it was easy to make small talk with Fran. I'd see him at West High, when I was doing radio for you guys, back with Ray and Richard, and I used to see Fran a lot at Patrick, and especially I didn't talk to him as much at basketball games because not as much room to move. But at baseball games in between innings or lead, I remember having a lot of conversations with Fran at baseball, just small talk, and then I remember a couple times talking to him on the phone for a half an hour, and hardly any of it was about basketball. And see, that's a side that a lot of people didn't see, and they assume it's not there, but it is there.
Yeah.
It is there. And so, yeah, I mean, Fran was easy to make small talk with, and like I said, he was a straight shooter, and he did lift this program from a miserable place.
Yes, he did.
And whoever takes over now, and you can't really compare the two eras because now there's so much roster fluidity. Who knows what Iowa is right now? Back then when Fran took over for Licklider, we knew what Iowa was, and it was bad.
And it was bad.
I mean, DeVries may come in here, or somebody else may come in. There may be 8, 9 new players here in a month, and it may be a completely different look.
Well, I mean, that's it.
That's probably what's going to happen.
But look at what happened with Illinois last year, and I'll just use them as one example.
Yeah, how'd they do yesterday? God. I think they were all their energy was towards Iowa. That's once they beat Iowa, they were satisfied.
There you go.
They didn't need anything else.
But they had 2 points returning to their roster this year. 2 points.
Yep.
And that's
and
our
some
world,
of it is
folks.
recruits they got. They got two real. The big guy in the middle is a freshman. The guard from Lithuania is a freshman. They did recruit some of them too. They're not all just from other college rosters, but no, that's how it works. I mean, Michigan State's an exception. They do have like that Frankie Fiddler guy. I think that's his name. He's from Omaha. But most of Michigan State's roster was built from the ground up, like Fran liked to do. And Fran did it the old-fashioned way. He wanted to recruit guys and develop them over time. He didn't want to gut his – and I admired him for that.
Well, I do too, and I actually – that may work to Iowa's advantage because a lot of coaches don't want to do high school anymore and don't want to build that.
Rick Pitino just came out and said it. He goes, I recruit men now.
Yeah.
He goes, I can't –
Well, and look what's happening for him.
Do you see his white suit?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
Hello.
There's times that you hate social media, and this is one of them.
Yes.
There's people out there bitching about Beth making this move, and it's like, come on.
I had a guy on Twitter this morning called Concept Mayhem was his name. He told me that I was going to die alone.
Now that's harsh.
Because he hates Fran, and he he's pissed at the softball team, he's angry at the world. But he posted under Concept Mayhem, and he wanted me to take him serious. So you know what I did to him?
Bounced him.
I blocked him.
Sure.
And he's gone. But no, you're right. This is not a good time for so many experts and so many anonymous trolls. It's just the way it is.
You think there'll be a chance that they'll bring him back to the arena one time just to let fans thank him?
No.
I mean, I don't think any time in the near, maybe 10 years from now, maybe, but I don't know.
I don't see it.
Well, it's not like they're going to put a statue of him out front, but I mean, I told you yesterday, I like the guy. I was really hoping maybe they'd give him one more year just to kind of see what's going on. But man, I think you're right about the exodus into the portal. I think we're far from being done.
Well, this is what happens. This is none of this stuff that's happening now is on you. It happens at every school that goes through it. This is just the way the world works now. Yeah, none of this is any shocking news. None of the only thing that would be shocking is if Freeman was the only one that entered the portal.
That would be shocking.
So I have 2 questions for you guys. On the internet, I know this is like as far away from happening as you could possibly be, but I've seen the name Bruce Pearl brought up.
No.
For the Iowa job?
Yeah.
Well,
brought up by who?
Oh, no. It's just internet chatter. That's all.
No, that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, no offense, but if it's just that's not even worth addressing, really.
He's got the number. Okay. Well, has had the number 1 team in the country this year at various times. Why would he move from where he is? They got all the resources in the world. Well, he's got all the resources in the world.
I know when you say come back to Iowa, he was an assistant here for about 4 or 5 years. He grew up and he went to Boston. He doesn't have really any ties to Iowa.
I gotcha.
Other than that,
so my real question for you guys.
And the other thing is Iowa.
I'm sorry.
Iowa fired his. I'm guessing Bruce Pearl probably didn't like the way Iowa handled Tom Davis. Would you agree, Tom?
I would agree.
Yeah. So, but no, and Bruce is also almost 70 years old too. I just don't see that happening. But no, I didn't. I thought you were saying there was some media outlet. That's
no. Just Twitter chatter. That's all it is, Pat.
Okay.
It was just. I thought it was funny to hear his name being brought up when it comes to the coaching job.
Oh, I mean, the fact that he was an assistant here and that he is so successful. Tom, what do you think? He's had some baggage here too. Wouldn't that probably not look good in the eyes of the Iowa administration?
I don't think it would look good.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa has, but I mean, if Bruce Pearl was begging for the Iowa job, it would be interesting to see. But I just don't see that happening.
Okay, so you guys are best gets. Who do you hire as the next Iowa coach? You can, you have your pick of the three guys that everybody's talking about. But I mean, if you really had it to where you could hire the coach, who would you hire?
When you say three,
you mean McCollum,
there's
DeVries,
like
and
guys, the ones you've already mentioned.
Well, Nico, I've only seen mentioned for the Minnesota job. I haven't seen him mentioned for the Iowa.
Chris Collins, I've seen.
I would probably take Chris Collins over any of them, but I don't think he's gonna. I just don't. You've seen. I mean, well, hell, I've mentioned Chris Collins, so that's how that stuff gets out there. If it was Chris Collins, Darian DeVries, and Ben McCollum, I would probably take Chris Collins, and I don't.
And I would take any of the three.
I would take any of the three. Yeah. But what Collins is
anyway, I know he's probably not listening, but I have nothing but gratitude for Coach. I mean, what he did, like you guys said, bringing us out of the Licklider era into what we are now. I mean, I don't know if anybody else could have done quite the job he did, bringing us out of that and making it, but I have nothing but gratitude to Coach.
I agree with that. I mean, we can't say that nobody else could have done it because I'm sure there's dozens that could have.
But no, he
had the opportunity.
He had the opportunity, and he did it. And 15 years is a long time to stay in one place. And Iowa has decided to move on, and that was their prerogative.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks like always for taking my call. You guys have a great day, and as always, go Hawks.
Go Hawks. So I haven't seen. There are no statements from Fran. Is that remotely unusual?
I actually reached out to him and said if he wanted to come on the radio or talk. And I haven't seen anything from him yet, and that's understandable for now. And there was no Iowa's release. It's funny how, and I get how you got to do it. I get it. I'm like, just this glowing quote in a release where you're firing him.
No,
but I get that's the game. But it is kind of funny.
But usually there's one more paragraph
that
in
explains
there,
what you're doing. This was just like, hey, I did find that a little odd. I giggled when I saw it, but it's a tough situation to be in. And I'll tell you, we learned a little bit about Beth yesterday. She will act if she feels a change is needed. She's not going to stall. I mean, I was getting ready to write a column and post it yesterday, saying, if they're going to get rid of Fran, they better do it in the next day or two, and then boom. I had to kind of update my column because they did it while and it was. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when, and I figured it was going to break by someone national. I think Pete Thamel, because I was told off the record that something yesterday was going to happen, and of course I couldn't write about that, but I was assuming it would come from Iowa, the late news drop. But somebody nationally would break it because those national guys, I believe, do a lot of talking with the agents of coaches.
Sure.
And the agents are the ones that get that stuff out there. They need to.
Yeah.
So it kind of went the way. But no, I was ready for it because I had been told when I was starting to write that column that something was almost certainly going to happen yesterday.
But Beth dawdled compared to the Minnesota AD.
Yes, she did. Yeah, that was. I don't get that one.
Why
you had to do it at 1:10 in the morning?
The players probably still hadn't showered yet.
That seemed a little ridiculous. But who knows? To each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
But Minnesota's had they've had a struggle getting that program going again, and firing the coach at 1:10 probably is not going to help you get a lot of good coaching candidates.
No.
All it takes though is one good hire. You get the right guy into Minnesota. Let's say Ben McCollum doesn't get the Indiana job and Minnesota hires him. And next thing you know, 3 years from now, Minnesota's 20. You never know. All it takes is one right hire.
Well,
and just the opposite, one wrong hire.
Anymore, though, I think it takes more than that.
Well, it does take. No, what I'm saying, though, is if you get the coach with the right fit that can win. I mean, if you can win some games at Minnesota early, the other stuff's going to fall into place. The fans will get their
the money will
NIL,
follow.
I think NIL will start. Yes, I believe. Everyone's talking about the Iowa NIL, and I know I've been so positive with Fran. One of the problems over the last year, they haven't won enough for the NIL to get a spike. It just hasn't happened. But they got to find somebody, Minnesota, who can win initially with what they have to offer, and then if you can do that, then the other stuff will sort of fall into place. But that is much easier said than done.
Much easier said than done, and Minnesota's got different challenges than we do. They've got all the professional.
Yeah, it's a completely different situation, but I still think Minnesota with the right coach can win.
Oh, yeah,
I really do. And but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Iowa handles this NIL stuff moving forward, because there's only so much any coach can sell to a kid. Eventually it comes down to money.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's how a big part of this is now, and we've had Fran on before. And that's the other thing I brought up. I mentioned, Fran, some of the media kind of portray Fran as just this gruff guy that doesn't want anything to do with the media. Every time I've asked him to come on this radio show, he's come on. And I know part of what motivates him to come on is he knows that Steve has dealt with cancer twice, and Fran has got.
Yeah,
and he knows that means a lot to Steve, and he's come on. Remember, there was one time when Iowa asked if we could have Fran on to promote an upcoming event, and we were glad to have him, because every time we've had him on, it's been easy, great conversation.
Fran's a great interview.
He's a great interview. He's down to earth, and see, so those are my experiences with Fran, and that's what I wrote about. But and other people have had other experiences, but I can't write about theirs. I can only write about what I've had, and like I said, I've been very comfortable around Fran. And I'll tell you, when his team is playing well, they are fun to watch. That 22 team was fun to watch. And, had he just, that 22 team where if they had just gotten to the Sweet 16 that year, I don't think they would have had back-to-back non-NCAA seasons after that, which they've had.
I think you're right.
I just think that just kind of set it down this course of, okay, this is the hump that we just can't get over anymore. And it took 2 years for it to get to the point where Iowa had to make a change. And I see why Fran would think, hey, I deserve more time with my body of work, and my best player got hurt this year. I see that part. And that's why I think he deserved another year. But again, it's hard to ignore this massive disconnect with fans.
And it's there.
It's there.
It's obvious.
The other thing I like about, a lot of coaches could have easily resented what the women did, because the women probably did take away some of their.
I don't think there's any question.
Fran promoted the women openly, even before his son started dating Caitlin. He was always behind the women. And the other thing I liked about Fran, as opposed to some of the former Iowa coaches, Fran never talked about his exploits as a player unless he was asked. And I always liked that and admired him for that. And there were times when he'd be asked, and he's like, guys, that was so long ago. And he was right. It was a long time ago, but his ego didn't need a boost that way. I always admired him for that too. So yeah, yesterday for me was kind of a sad day. It really was.
It's
I was sort of depressed. Yeah, it was bittersweet. I see Iowa wanting to make a change, feeling they need to make a change, and that's part of the business. But part of me was sad to see it end this way for Fran.
Well, and somewhat ironically, his last game, then he gets bounced.
Well, I wrote it.
And his team gave up 106
It
points.
does make me wonder, though, if he already knew his fate.
I kind of think so,
I kind of think he did, yeah. And it was interesting that they scored 94 and lost by double figures, and he got ejected. Somebody said classic Fran McCaffery game. Now, there's a lot of games where they scored 94 and won, too. I mean,
you bet.
I mean, my two biggest beasts with Fran, and I mentioned it in my column, I wished he would have kept playing Drake in Northern Iowa, and I wish they would have played better defense.
Yep.
Those are my two biggest criticisms. That was it. I don't think he had a problem dealing with the media. Yeah, he lost his temper at times, but I think a lot of his temper tantrums were calculated, and a lot of them were directed at his team to play better. Remember when he threw the chair at Michigan State? Mm-hmm. That's because he was mad. He thought his players were playing soft. He thought they were, instead of bitching to the officials about letting the game be too physical, he said to his players, hey, adjust to this style. And I admired him for that. And when he threw the chair, it brought attention, whether it was good or bad. It brought attention to Iowa in the early years, and some will argue that any attention's good attention. I mean,
yeah.
And it kind of set the tone of what it was about. Man, this guy's serious about winning and playing hard.
Well, and that's what some people thought. Other people say, oh, he's a hothead. We don't need that. We don't need that at Iowa.
Yeah, go back to the guy with his head in his hands.
Ugh. Yeah.
Well, I remember he did an interview with us, and it really stuck in my mind. This is before all the NIL blew up and everything. Mm-hmm. And he said, we just can't – we're never going to be a a top team because I won't play that game. He goes, I don't want to be, I want to get good people here and not have to bribe them to come.
Yeah, and I get that, but you have to bend a little, and I think he was willing to bend. I remember him saying that, and you can't, that philosophy, I admire it, but it's not going to work as much moving forward.
No, it's
just
No,
not.
I mean, it's a completely different landscape now.
But you notice, though, when Fran needed stuff from the portal, he got it. He went and got it. So, but yeah, I admired him because he would still like the bulk of his roster, like Kirk, to be guys you start from the ground up high school. I still think there's a place for that in college. I don't want to cover Iowa and have every year a new basketball team.
I kind of don't think we're going to.
I don't think we will either because I don't think this university, I don't think it's built that. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think it will either. And part of the attraction to the women's team is it's a little bit old school in that those kids stay here. And they're here for 4 years, for 5 years. And you get to, you buy into those kids because they have bought into Iowa. And to me, that's more old school than.
No, I was okay. I'll not challenge you on that, but I agree with it. But how many women on the women's team going into this year, outside of Lucy Olson, who wasn't on the team, how many of them do you think would have had a ton of suitors in the portal? I mean, Alfalter, O'Grady. Do you think there would have been power from just lining up to get them? I don't. And that's not a knock.
No, but I think they sure would have, obviously, for Caitlin and maybe Kate Martin.
Okay, well, I'm
Caitlin,
talking about,
obviously.
well, they're gone. I'm talking about this. I thought you were talking about this year.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, of course, Caitlin and Kate Martin and Gabby would have had some too. But what I like about Iowa is they win, like Jan is winning this year with a lot of players that wouldn't cause a stir in the portal.
For sure.
If you can do that, man, that's even better.
No, I agree with that 100%.
To me, because do you think Addie O'Grady would have had Power Fives lining up for her last summer?
No.
She would have found somewhere probably, but no. And I don't think Alfalter would have. And now someone like Aaliyah Guyton, if she went with her potential or whatever. But to me, Aaliyah Guyton's in the perfect situation right here at Iowa. She's going to inherit the point guard position, play with Addie Deal and all the other guards. And so, but yeah, it's the portal has just changed the way it is, not necessarily for the better, but it's just this is it.
It is what it is, though, and it's not going back.
But then you have Izzo.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't do the portal much. Well, okay, I'll ask you: is he in the portal more or on the court more, coaching?
On the court more.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
There you go. And when I turned him on yesterday, he was on the court. He had his arm around the official, but they were laughing. But I did think of you. He was 10 feet on the court.
No, it's ridiculous.
But he did have his arm around the official. It was during a break, and they were both laughing. But it was just it was classic Izzo. And then there was one other time where one of his players said something to him when he was coming out, and the look Izzo he's kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. And it was just, I mean, I don't know. I get a kick out of him. I know he bugs you on the court, but I'll tell you.
Well, it's not just him, but he's the prime.
Well, he's the prime, but we see him more, too, because he's Tom Izzo.
Yeah.
I mean, we see Michigan State, but, man, they're playing well. I mean,
they
really are. But I still think if I'm Michigan State, I'd almost rather lose the semi or lose one of these 2 games left in the tournament, Big Ten. So you maybe get, if jinx-wise, you get that bad loss out, as opposed to winning what if you win the Big Ten and then they lose in the second round of the NCAA? A lot of people think this season's
could happen.
I know it could happen, and I think that will take away a ton from the season. Whereas, let's say they lose today in the semifinals, but make it to the Final Four again. See, that's what I'm saying, that there's so much influence on the NCAA tournament. I can't believe I'm even saying that.
And they play Wisconsin?
Yes.
And Michigan plays Maryland?
Michigan, Maryland, yeah, because it's set up to where Michigan and Michigan State would meet in the championship, which would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, the UCLA, they didn't fire a shot. How many threes did Wisconsin make?
Oh God, they were just draining them like nothing.
It was like watching them against Iowa.
Watching the Iowa game.
Yeah, maybe that was their way of sending a shout out to Fran making a bunch of threes. But I mean, Iowa, we've seen Iowa make a bunch of threes too. Yeah. And they held it. They hung as tough as they could with that Illinois team, but they just didn't have. Didn't have enough. Did not have enough fire, but, man, did Peyton go down fighting.
Yep, he did.
A warrior.
Great Hawkeye.
Great Hawkeye. Great kid. Great. That's the other thing I made a point of saying. Fran rebuilt this program mostly by recruiting really good kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he took a few chances early when he was, in real rebuild mode. But for the most part, man, he got really good kids.
He did.
Kids that had the better chance of landing on Mars with Elon than landing in the police blotter. Seriously, they just were never going to be it. The Sanford boys. I mean, my God, they're as true as you can be. I mean, they're as good at kids as you can be.
Well, Price is one of the guys I really hope stays.
And I think he will. I really think if it's DeVries, I think he will.
Yeah. I
mean, what if Ben McCollum gets the job and then brings his entire Drake team and then they go 30-3 and win the Big Ten? I'm kidding, of course, but it's going to be. There's part of me that hope Ben McCollum stays at Drake. I mean, there is really so, and it'll be interesting too if Darian DeVries stays here. It wouldn't surprise me if he kept Matt Gatens on.
No.
To have a former Hawkeye. Let's remember, Darian did not play here. He played at Northern Iowa. So I think if whoever gets the job would be smart to have a former Hawkeye on the staff. And Matt's already there. So we shall see. But I'll tell you, this stuff is good for business. Our traffic yesterday
I bet it was huge.
Was incredible. And that softball story, I can put up with the traitor, treason, send your ass to Gitmo, send you to Ukraine, all that hate for the traffic it's bringing. I mean, I can't believe the amount of traffic it's brought to our site. But some of the stuff that I've been told, some of the remarks on are just amazing when you say, so, man, somebody actually typed that in and thought that was a good idea to send, Your ass should be in Gitmo. I mean, that was one of my favorites because I took a picture of some players kneeling during the national anthem.
Yeah, it's a shame on you.
Hello.
Hey, Hunter, how's it going?
Hey, Paul.
Yep.
The hell you doing?
It's kind of windy out here.
Yeah,
I'm out in the backyard.
So you back in Iowa?
Sounds like Tom.
It is. Are you back in Iowa?
Fran got escorted out the door, or
I don't know if he was escorted, but he is no longer Iowa's coach. Yes.
I heard that on the BTN last night.
Yeah, they broke it.
No, I think Pete Thamel.
I think Pete Thamel. And I saw, who was the other guy?
Well, I don't know. But once Pete Thamel had it, like 8 other guys had it like 10 seconds later.
Oh, Rothstein?
Yeah, John Rothstein, who's the guy who I'll never, funny Fran quote. John Rothstein's always big on saying, hey, I've just learned that Iowa's going to be playing in the 2030 Invitational, blah, blah. There was one time Fran's like, this guy knows who the hell we're playing before I do. And it was so funny the way he said it.
Yeah, it was funny. Fran left with a technical, right?
Double technical, ejection.
Yep.
What'd he do?
Complained about the foul discrepancy.
He must have said a bad word to the ref, and he said, you're gone.
Yeah.
Well, he said, I think he said this is effing
BS.
Yes.
The foul discrepancy.
And I believe the first technical was cumulative.
You're an effing idiot.
So
he probably said.
Yeah.
Hey, has Iowa played a baseball game this year yet?
Yeah, plenty.
Yes, I think we played.
They played 2 yesterday.
Of them, haven't we?
Yeah, they played plenty, including 2 yesterday.
I mean Iowa City.
Yes, they just played 2 yesterday.
Okay.
2 yesterday.
1 earlier this week.
Are they good?
Well, so far. They split it. They won earlier this week, and they split a doubleheader yesterday.
Yep.
So they're playing one more game today. But they're over the top. I
heard it's warmer than hell up there.
Not anymore.
It was yesterday, not today.
It's windy and cold today.
Yeah. No hail damage or tornadoes up there. They're going through the south right now.
Yeah, we lucked out. We had nothing. I kept listening to Molly and Tommy. And nothing. I had nothing at my house.
It was just high winds.
But I didn't really even have much of that. Didn't have any rain.
I got a friend in St. Louis. He's without power and internet. So
yeah, we dodged another bullet, it looks like.
Yeah.
What you chatting about today, Fran?
Uh-huh. When are you coming back to Iowa?
I ain't on the computer today.
Yeah. When are you coming back to Iowa?
hell, I might move down here permanently.
Oh, that'd be a shame. We'd miss you.
I love Iowa.
And Iowa loves you.
Oh,
Are you gonna put your name in for the head basketball coach job at Iowa?
No, I hope. Is Matt Gatens? What's the scuttlebutt?
There are people that are saying maybe he could do it, but he's not on the top of the list.
Probably not.
No.
Well, not that we don't know best list. I get what you're saying. I know some people that would like to see Matt as coach. I don't know if he's ready for that yet, but like I said, if they kept him on the staff, I think that would be great.
I do too.
Oh yeah, he's a good kid. He went to high school with my daughter.
Okay.
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah, and we can't get Bruce Pearl back now, right?
According to the internet, they can, and it's down to him and Patino.
Oh, hell. He ain't coming back to Iowa.
Down to him and John Wooden.
Yep. Digger Phelps doesn't have a coaching job right now. He's still kicking.
I think he's dead.
Oh, he's 83.
Oh, I thought Digger Phelps was dead for some reason. I don't know why I thought he was dead.
Get him and Phil Jackson together. If we can run the table here.
There you go. All right, Paul. Thanks for calling, man.
Yeah, have a good weekend, Paul.
Oh, yeah, it's springtime up there, eh?
That's right.
Today it feels more like winter. But...
All right, see you later,
See ya.
Paul. Thanks. Good to hear from Paul.
Sure.
What did you think of that call?
Well, Captain Steve texted me, fire Paul.
Well, he texted me the same thing in all caps.
Yes.
He wants Paul fired.
Yes, he does.
And that's your guys' decision.
Well, it's kind of hard when he's not listening and he calls in.
Yeah, he asked us if we were talking about Fran.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, yeah, it's too bad. But on the other,
we've had worse calls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's a friendly sort.
Well, he is. Paul, he's a good
yeah.
guy. Doesn't always add a lot.
Well, there's
if that's fair to say.
But he does add awkward silence. And
he does.
Every once in a while, there's that.
And since we don't have what's the food menu dude in Burlington anymore,
Southern Justin,
you got to get your awkward silence somewhere. And Paul's the source of that now.
Well, maybe he'll call in when Steve's back. And
wasn't that a song by Depeche Mode? Awkward. Oh no, Enjoy the Silence.
Enjoy the Silence.
Enjoy the Silence. That's actually a good. I like two Depeche Mode songs.
That one and which one?
The other one, Can't Get Enough. Just Can't Get Enough.
Okay,
I love that.
That's a good one.
And I bet you've heard of Just Can't Get Enough was early, like 81. I
don't know if I know that.
They look like kids. Do you guys have that here? If you do, I'm going to request that for when the show's over. Do you guys have it in your log?
We might.
But other than that, Depeche Mode is kind of like Joy Division, depressing and
Personal Jesus. I've always liked that song.
yeah. But
I don't know any of their songs by name, but I imagine
I would be surprised if you haven't heard of Just Can't Get Enough.
I'm sure I have. I would probably say, oh, that
It's
one.
that early 80s synthesizer sound. Enjoy the Silence is another one that maybe you've heard of. Because I do not listen to a lot of Depeche Mode. I don't own any of their albums. I just know those two songs.
Do we have a call?
Yes, we do.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Pat. Hello.
Hello.
You beat me to it. Hello.
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 Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Pat, you beat me to it. I was going to say Paul had some similarities to that Burlington caller.
There is. They lead to awkward silence, and I think we need some of that.
But what I was calling to say was now that Beth has shown she's not afraid to fire Fran, I think this will be his last season, either by choice or by force.
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, well, a lot depends on what they do. And if they go 10-2, there's not going to be any force.
No, and there's another huge difference. Those stands are full.
So, yes. Yeah, they will. I think if Kirk's done after 1 or 2 more years, it's just going to be because he's done.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. I get Beth is showing. I mean, I didn't even mention Brian Ferentz in my column about Fran. I guess I had. I mean, now those situations are different, but they both show that she is willing to take a stand, although – Tom, you've been told the same thing. The Brian Ferentz thing wasn't her. That was above her.
Yes,
and
correct.
She got approval for this too. You don't do anything without approval from. But I've been told the Brian Ferentz thing was initiated more by people above her, and she just carried out the plan. Is that what you've heard?
Yes.
So it's a little different.
Well, isn't Kirk's,
yeah,
Kirk's buyout would be a lot more too, right?
Yes, Kirk's buyout would be a lot more, and but we'll see. A lot of. I mean, if Kirk goes 5-7 next year. There's going to be pressure, and those seats will start to fade a little bit. And,
probably so.
But, that's a big if. They haven't come close to going 5-7. The worst they've been recently is 8 wins.
Yeah, but it's like kissing your sister. You've been kissing your sister for too long. You got to go back to kissing grandma to make kissing your sister look attractive.
That's really the most disgusting comparison I've heard in a long time.
So,
wow.
People might be willing to put up with some 2 and 10 years to make
Well, no, nobody's. If
7
Kirk
and 5 look good.
If Kirk went 2 and 10 this year, he'd go into, if he wanted to keep coaching, he'd have to win in 26 or he'd be fired.
Yes.
It's not, he doesn't have a never-ending security blanket. No, Kirk even has his ceiling too. But, I mean, do I think they're going to go 10-2 this next year? No. Do I think they're going to go 2 and 10? No. I think the program's still pretty sturdy, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
Do you think, what do you think the ceiling is for the football team? 9-3?
Yeah, I'll go out on the limb and do my 7 to 10. No, somewhere between 7 and 9. I mean, the schedule's really tough.
It is.
Everyone's talking about Gronowski. I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of credibility, and he's done it at a different level. I'm more worried about defense. And
interesting to say that, isn't it?
It really is.
True.
I mean, but there's just so much that has to be replaced.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case last year. They lost some key defensive players last year, but most of them were back. And they had, 4 graduates starting on defense last year. They're going to be a lot younger this year unless they do. And there still could be portal activity. I mean, spring ball hasn't even started yet.
Right.
I mean, the portal is ongoing.
The breaking news we do have, just can't get enough in the library.
Okay. That's my request for Molly then.
Okay. And People Are People. That's another one. I didn't realize they did that one.
I'd have to hear that one. I don't know it by name.
People are people.
Oh, I didn't like it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So what's the one you're going to play? How's that go?
I'm telling you, you'll think of early 80s synthesizer, Flock of Seagulls.
Human League.
Human League.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that. And it's just a really
Repetitive.
short, there's a video of it. There's of them performing the song. They literally look like they're 1920. It's from 1981.
Wow.
They probably were that old.
They were that old,
Yeah.
yeah. And they show how the lead singer, back then he's wearing a nice little suit. He's then 10 years later he's got tattoos. It's like how they change over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, busy few days. And you got, it's weird is you got the women still getting ready to play in the NCAA tournament. And they'll have a press conference tomorrow over there at 7. Well, the show starts at 7. We'll be over there tomorrow covering it. And I saw one has them. Is there a region in Waco? Someone told me they saw one where they were going to Waco.
I think there is.
You and Ann, Waco, 10 days. 10 days in Waco. I like that. Sounds that sounds like a Clint Eastwood movie,
doesn't it though?
10 days in Waco.
Yeah.
That sounds like a song.
There
10 days in Waco, and then.
But I'm guessing if they did that, how would that mean Baylor's the host, right?
That's what it
Baylor's
means.
a top 16 team again this year.
That's what it means.
Because aren't the Texas women better than Baylor this year? Aren't they ranked higher?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I always wonder why Texas isn't great in everything, and they usually are.
Their
really
men are not good.
I mean, no, they're not. I can never figure out why Texas should be great in, just like Ohio State should be great in everything.
Yeah.
With all the
doesn't
resources.
always work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't always work that
And
way.
Texas football, which blows me away because they have more talent in that state, and they flock to Texas. They are absolutely loaded every single year, and they don't.
Now, Sarkisian's made some ground. He's turned them into one of the better ones, but no, they've never been a sustaining power. Hell, Hayden, you remember when Hayden destroyed them in the 80s, but they were not. They were up and down in the 90s. They've just been really up and down.
They have.
They really have been, for all the resources and the recruiting advantages they have.
Well, high school games, some of them are more well attended than most college games.
They have high school coaches that I've read make like $100,000 a year just coaching football.
Beautiful stadiums that they play in.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is amazing. And then here, the high school in the area where I grew up in Des Moines, not even going to field a high school football team this year, Des Moines Hoover.
Isn't that something?
They don't have enough bodies, and if you want to play, if you're Hoover, you got to go join Roosevelt after school and play on their team.
And Cedar Rapids Jefferson was flirting with that a few years ago.
I mean, we're not talking about, these are Class 4A and 5 schools. Yeah. And that just shows you, well, I mean, Des Moines, everyone, just like here, everyone has moved out from where I grew up, Beaverdale and all these places. And when I was in high school, Hoover had over 1,000 students, and Waukee was Class 2A. Now Waukee has 2 massive 5A schools, and Hoover's struggling because there's just not a lot of kids still living in the Beaverdale and the Merle Hay neighborhoods and stuff where I grew up.
I believe Waukee was voted the whitest city in America.
The whitest?
I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I'm sure that's probably the dominant skin tone there.
I would think yes.
But no, it's incredible how much Waukee has grown, and they're good in everything. Their sports teams are good in everything. And I look at Southeast Polk, it's 5A. Football Power, when I was in high school, I believe it was 2 or 3A. We didn't even play them because they were in a different class. That just shows you. Well, granted, I've been out of high school for 40 years. So but, I mean, the same things happen here, though. I mean, think about 30 years ago, the thought of having a Liberty High School. Think about that. Mm-hmm. But Liberty is sort of the answer here to what Waukee is to the Des Moines area. That's just what happened. The population movement.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, it's going to be an interesting, as I said earlier, the coaches that we're interested are probably going to keep coaching. I mean, they're still going to be coaching in the NCAA tournament. There's 68 freaking teams.
Yeah, I would think so. Whether that means someone would just quit, I don't know. I mean, I would just quit and the assistant coach takes over. I'm sure there's some Iowa fans that would love it if it's Darian DeVries for him to just say, hey, I'm done at West Virginia. Thanks. Iowa, pay my buyout. I'm ready. I'm yours. And it's simple.
I don't think he would do that to you.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I would probably lean against that, but again, I just never say never in these
And I don't know the guy. I mean,
I don't know him either. He does follow me on Twitter. He follows me on Twitter, and his one brother told me to leave the country.
Wow.
Dusty.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't like the stage libtard told me to leave. So Darian follows me on Twitter, and the other one wants me out of the country. So what do you think of that?
Okay.
And Jared, I've never had any interaction. Well, I remember I did a story during COVID on Jared's son. I can't remember what exactly the angle was, but Jared was a great player at Iowa, man.
He sure was. Really I loved watching him play.
He was a great player in the NFL.
Loved watching him play.
And to think, all that money he made in the NFL, and now his younger brother is going to end up making even. He'll probably that'll be my first question to Darian is, so do you plan on getting a bigger home at Clear Lake than your brother? Now that you've got a lifetime of wealth, whatever. I mean, if he doesn't come here, Darian DeVries is set for. He's got
he's fine.
Money. West Virginia was paying him $3 million a year to be. So. We shall see, but that seems to be the one everyone's talking about, and it seems so obvious. But like I've said before, sometimes things can be too obvious.
And sometimes, Beth could come up with a name that absolutely nobody.
Because she may be contacted by somebody that she never would have imagined is interested, and all of a sudden they're interested, and you got to consider it.
Sure,
if something like that happens. But I've had people tell me that DeVries is already a done deal. I've had several people say it's already done. Okay.
People that you believe?
Well, sort of. I mean, sometimes. But saying that it's a done deal also could mean different things, too. You know what I mean? It could mean that, I don't know. To me, to think that it's a done deal now would be interesting. But like I said, I sort of believe him in this case, but I also, let's just kind of wait and see. I mean, you think it's a done deal already? If it's a done deal, then announce it.
Well, except he's still coaching.
But I mean, how do we know if he hasn't?
Well, we don't.
Privately said, I've already signed. I'm done. You don't.
That's possible.
Know. You just don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
And he could also have said, yes, I am taking the job. I'm going to do it.
But let me coach.
But let me finish up with these.
That
guys.
Often is what happens.
Yes.
And maybe that has happened. And if that's the case. West Virginia is not built to make a run in the tournament. I mean, they're really, without his son, they're not very good. I mean, they lost to Colorado in the first round of their tournament.
Yeah, that ain't good.
No, they're not. I believe they're below 500 in conference play, but I guess the Big 12 is so strong that their net and everything is high enough to get them in.
Well, I guess we're going to have some Depeche Mode to start the Molly Suter show, huh?
It looks like it. It's already ready to roll.
So do you think he's going to recognize it?
I think so.
I'll bet I do too, but
Yeah.
I never knew that was. I had heard that song for years. Never knew it was Depeche Mode until about 6 months ago when I saw that video come up on Twitter. I'm like, they sang that song because it was really popular in high.
There's 3 or 4 of those bands that they sound exactly alike.
Yep.
And they're from about exactly the same time in the space-time continuum. And they sound the same.
Now, I will say Depeche Mode is sustained better than the Flock of Seagulls did.
Yes.
I mean, Depeche Mode is, even though I'm not a huge fan, they've been popular for decades.
They just put out an album last year.
No, the Flock of Seagulls, they were Iran, right?
Yes.
Did you like that song?
Yeah.
And Wishing,
I never did.
Wishing was a horrible song.
I don't know that.
I saw a tweet yesterday saying Billy
Wishing I had
Idol.
a photograph of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet yesterday demanding that Billy Idol be in the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. To me, he deserves it as much as some of them.
Well, at least he's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I like 2 or 3. Eyes Without a Face. That's a great song.
People really like that one, yeah.
Oh, that's a good song.
Rebel Yell.
All right, everybody. We'll watch the win. Stay safe. And
we'll be back. Hawks.
We'll be back Monday with more Portal news.
And Molly Suter is next.